Have you ever had a solar salesperson come to your front door and tell you that these solar panels are going to add blank amount of value to your home? If that is the case, we absolutely need to talk. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm Jen, your Delaware Realtor. I'm a local Delaware real estate agent that covers the entire state because honestly, we're pretty small. So whether you're looking to buy or sell in Delaware, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you. My information is down below in the description, so please feel free to send me an email. All right, so like I said, if you have heard those exact words that solar panels are going to add insert whatever number, whether it be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to the value of your home, we absolutely need to go over this. I've had multiple deals with solar panels. And honestly, if you've watched my other video, you know that it was honestly a nightmare. And while the salesperson is going to tell you that it is so easy to sell your home with solar panels, I'm here to tell you that it's not that easy. So let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk about when a solar salesperson comes to your door, you have to take everything that they say with a grain of salt. And I encourage you to do some research. So the multiple deals that I've been a part of, honestly, like I said, kind of like a nightmare. So all of the contracts for the solar lease says that the loan is either transferable or assumable. If a salesperson says that to you, I would question that because in all of the deals, the solar company that holds the loan for the lease, they don't really want to transfer the loan. They honestly just want their money. So what they're going to do is they're going to make the process difficult. They're going to tell you that the buyer can either assume the loan or transfer the loan, and then they're going to deny that buyer. And it doesn't matter if that buyer is pre-approved for well over what your home is selling for, or even if they're just on the brink, because ultimately at the end of the day, they're just going to deny your buyer. And it's awful because it's going to hold you hostage because at that point, you kind of have to decide whether you're going to pay off the loan or somehow try and put it into the sale price. But then here is what you're going to run into. I had a chance to talk to an appraiser about solar panels, and I just came right out and said it. How much do you value for solar panels? The number one thing that she said to me was if they are leased panels, meaning they are not owned by the seller, there's no value for solar panels. And that honestly is a gut punch because I know this comes across as if I'm anti, solar panels. I am not. I actually was asking for personal reasons because I actually wanted to get solar panels. But I'm glad that I actually asked these questions because I feel like a lot of this information is just not out there. It's sold to us that solar is going to reduce our electric bill and we are going to end up with a credit and we're going to be able to sell our house with solar panels. And it's really just not that simple. She did say that because solar is so new, if the panels were owned, it was a different story, but they really weren't giving much value. And for those that don't know, and this was something that was new to me, is that the loan for solar panels, I thought was maybe 3 to 5 years, really not that expensive. No, I was flabbergasted to see that it actually is like 15 to 20 years. So almost the same amount of years as your mortgage. Now, granted, obviously your mortgage is 30 years, but for most people, they're not planning to stay in their home for 15 to 20 years or even 30 years. The intention is that you take on a 30-year payment or a 20-year payment or a 15-year payment so that you can reduce your monthly bills, but you still have to pay that back. And a lot of times the interest rates on solar panels isn't exactly that great. And the fine print of some of these lease payments is the fact that if you were to transfer the loan interest rate actually goes up for the buyer. So it's really not that great of a deal. And also, what doesn't get taken into consideration is the maintenance of the solar panels, the age of the solar panels when you go to actually transfer them, the age of the roof, if there's roof problems. Like, I've heard so many, honestly, negatives towards solar panels that myself, I'm starting to second guess. Here are some of the things that I've learned in the past few months. One being, if there is a roof issue under the solar panels, it is going to cost you a good chunk of change to take those solar panels off, fix the roof, and then put them back on. Because you kind of have to put them back on. It's a second lien against your property. And I've heard upwards of $8,000 to $16,000 to take them off, fix the roof, and put them back on. Not only that, but a lot of people will tell you, especially the salesperson, that you're going to produce more than what you're using and you're going to get a credit on your bill. Yes and no, depending on where you live. For example, the city of Dover will give you a credit if you overproduce, but the town of Smyrna will not. So you kind of have to just see where you're living or where you're planning on living to see if it makes absolute sense for you. Because keep in mind, if the panels are not owned, you're going to have a lease payment plus your electric bill. So for example, if you were to live in the town of Smyrna, you have your electric bill, which is usually included with your trash and your water and your sewer. And then you'll also have your lease payment. So you kind of have to see, does this make sense for our particular situation? Also, what are you using in the house that's electric? For example, I just ran into a situation where this particular house had basically gas for everything besides the lights. So she had solar panels that were practically brand new that the salesperson sold her on the fact that she used so much electric when she literally just had lights and the AC unit essentially. So for her furnace in the winter, it was gas. She had a gas cooktop, and she also had a tankless water heater that was gas. So the only thing that she was using for electric were the lights and the AC, which, let's be honest, you're not using that much electric. So this person was making this lease payment of, I honestly don't even want to know. And the only thing that were electric was the AC and the lights. What I am also starting to see is that solar companies are starting to prey on the older generation. So whether you're 55 plus or you're a baby boomer, which is basically the same thing, but they are starting to prey because honestly, they just don't think that anyone is doing their research. And because they're still fairly new, they can kind of tell you all of these lies to get you to sign on the dotted line, and then you're kind of stuck with this payment for 15 to 20 years, depending on what they sign you up for. Now, once again, I am nowhere close to being anti solar panels. I am still thinking about it for my house because I plan on being in my house for 15 to 20 years. And it's a matter of if it makes sense for you and your family. For example, I know a lot of people would be interested in solar panels because they're thinking about living what they consider off-grid. Well, depending on where you live, now Delaware doesn't have any rules against this yet, but depending on where you live, you actually may not even have the opportunity to be off-grid. There are some states that require you to stay on the grid. So even if you get these solar panels, you're not technically off-grid and you can't actually be off-grid. Also, and this is one of the reasons why we thought about solar, when I first moved into my house, we would lose power what felt like every week, and it was awful. And I looked into a backup generator, but then I thought, well, what about solar? I would just have this battery, and then when everyone else loses power, I would have power because I have this battery that we've been charging. No. So most of the time, solar panels do not come with a backup battery. It's actually extra to add the battery. And then it is charging the battery. And then once that battery is charged, then you are producing more than what you're using. But if you are charging that battery, you're actually using more electric. So it actually could make your bill go higher rather than get a credit. So honestly, it's kind of like it's just a math equation where you kind of have to figure out, does this even make sense for us? So all of this is to say, if you are thinking about getting solar, it is very important that you look at all the pros and cons of having solar before making that decision, because I would not take that decision lightly. So if someone comes to you, a salesperson, and they say this is going to add this amount of money of value to your home, please know that if you are planning on leasing your solar panels, and at the time that you go to sell your house, they are leased, they actually do not add any value. So what you're going to want to do is factor in either one, to pay off the solar, or figure out if you even want solar to begin with, and figure out how long you plan on staying in your house. Because oftentimes you get into a situation where the buyer really wants the house, but then they don't get approved for the solar to be transferred to them. And then you're kind of just like stuck. You're either going to pay them off, or somehow the buyer could maybe get a personal loan, but then a lot of times they can't do that because of the financing. So it's very important to look at all of the factors before signing on that dotted line. Then if you do own the panels, the value is not guaranteed, and it really just depends on if the appraiser at that point is able to find another house within the comp area that had solar that were owned. Because a lot of times they can't, which then falls on the appraiser to then try and figure out how much value to give you. And I can tell you, it is not as much as what the solar panels cost. And then finally, just keep in mind that if you are thinking about solar, figure out what you actually use electric for in your house. So, for example, if you have an electric water heater and you have an electric heat pump, and then you have obviously the lights and everything else, and maybe you have an electric vehicle, there would be a situation where I would start thinking about, okay, so I have all of these electric things, so this getting solar panels is actually going to make sense for me. I plan on staying in my house for a really long time. I plan on paying off the solar panels if I go to sell, or B, I am going to somehow put it in my sale price and hope that I somehow get value out of the solar. But I can tell you it's very, very difficult to do that. And also just keep in mind that older people are being preyed upon with the solar. So make sure you do your research before signing on that dotted line. I cannot tell you how important that is. And keep in mind, once again, I am not anti-solar panels. I'm actually thinking about it for myself. It's more just keeping you informed and being informed about the solar panels and about the new things that are starting to come out about them. I really hope that this video helped. If it did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you are a buyer that is looking to purchase in Delaware, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you. My information is down below in the description, so please feel free to send me an email. If you are a seller that is looking to sell your property and you are selling with solar panels, I am very well versed in it. No, I'm just joking. If you don't have solar panels, I can still help you. My information is down below, or you can send me an email and I can send you a personalized CMA. Once again, I really hope this video helped. If it did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Hey, if you were thinking about moving to Delaware, you should definitely check out this video right here. And if you would love to tour Delaware communities with me, check out this playlist right here. And don't forget, subscribe to my channel.